What's up, guys, and welcome to a video that isn't going to have my usual over-the-top, well, I'm not even sure if it's over-the-top, but kind of presentery vibe of an FPL video. This video is about the topic that came out yesterday regarding the stripping of the title of the person who had thought he'd won the FPL game, someone that has a Twitter handle which you can quite easily go and find, and I'm not necessarily going to shout out his name because I don't want to send any more negativity his way, because as I'll get into, while I don't agree with what he did, I don't necessarily think a witch hunt is exactly what we need to do here. But if you didn't know, the FPL title has been decided and not given to the person who had the most points because he made a derogatory and racist comment towards Raheem Sterling. I'm assuming one game week where he didn't do particularly well with Raheem Sterling in his team. That is just an assumption on my part, but I have seen the message that was posted in a private group chat, and that private group chat, a screenshot was taken and this was reported to the FPL, and they took their action and stripped him of his title. Now, I can make it very clear to you that I do not agree with what he said. I do think it is a racist comment, and I do think racism needs to be stamped out of the game. I don't want to vilify him though, because I've actually had dealings with him and he doesn't seem like a horrible person, and everyone is capable of making mistakes, myself included. And I think this is just a small part of something that is a massive problem within not just the FPL game, not just football, but in society in general. What I will say is I did watch his apology video, for those of you that do know who I'm talking about, and I don't think the apology video was good enough. I think he should have just literally apologized, admitted he was in the wrong, and not tried to explain himself, which I don't think came across particularly well. So I don't think his apology video was good enough. FPL stripped him of his title. That's a punishment that is completely up to them, and I'm perfectly happy with, because that is the punishment they've decided upon and it is their game. However, I came out of this whole thing feeling a bit disappointed and underwhelmed would be the words I use, because we had something in FPL which is pretty relevant in football in general and in the wider society, incident of racism, and this was a perfect opportunity for the Premier League and the FPL to make a very clear statement against racism. And I don't think their statement against racism was anywhere near clear enough. Yes, they punished the person that was responsible for the racist comment, but if you actually look at their statement was as followed. Following end of season checks, final standings have been updated. We can confirm that, and then they announced the winner has been officially announced as the 2019-20 FPL champion. That was the initial tweet. The actual tweet about the racism comes in a second tweet, and it's due to a breach of our terms, the team formerly occupying the #1 position has been removed from the FPL, with a link on the tweet. And that link takes you to a page which again announces who the winner is, says following end of season checks, final standings have been decided. The team formerly occupying the #1 position has been removed from the FPL due to a breach of our terms. Now see, my issue with this is they have taken a case of racism and they have put it down as a breach of our terms. It's a lot more than a breach of our terms. While I appreciate the action you did take, this was an opportunity to make a very clear statement against racism. You could have quite easily put something along the lines of, due to racist comments made by the person who ended up with the most points, we have decided to strip him of the title and award it to the person in second place. We here at FPL or the Premier League do not stand for racism or any sort of discrimination. That was the kind of statement I was looking for, something which was a clear stand against racism, because for a long time the accepted stance was to just say no to racism. But with everything going on right now, surely it should be a stand against racism. We should be calling people out for racist comments. We should be standing up to it and not just quietly kind of pushing it under the rug. And yes, there's plenty of accounts, some associated with the FPL, that have come out and said exactly what's happened, but there's been no official statement clearly standing against racism, and that's personally what I was expecting from the Premier League and the FPL when this all came out. This could have gone down as a moment when the game we love to play had a firm stand against something that is clearly wrong. Instead, in a year's time, when someone asks me about this, I'm going to remember the fact that the champion got stripped of the title. I'm going to remember why, but I'm not going to really remember a very strong statement from the FPL because it was just a breach of our terms. So what I'm basically saying is I don't think the FPL did enough here. They should have been a lot more transparent with what was happening. They should have told us why the champion was being stripped of his title, and we should have been told of their actions taken. For instance, we don't know how long they knew this guy had made this comment. Were they just going to do nothing if he didn't win the title? If he'd come in the top 1k, would this never have been mentioned? Or did they only just find out about it and have taken quick action, which would be a better scenario than if they'd found out when he'd won and taken this long to make a decision? Basically what I'm saying is I'd like some transparency from the FPL regarding this situation, and we've got none of that so far. As for the person who got stripped of the title, again, I just want to clarify, I have spoken to you in Twitter DMs. I have never had an issue with you myself. However, what you did was clearly wrong, and I think you really missed the mark with how you reacted in your video, but I do give you props for not running away from this and facing it. However, I think you just need to accept what you did was wrong and try and learn from it instead of trying to explain yourself and explain why it isn't as bad as a lot of people have said. Anyway, that is it for this video. Probably a little bit longer than I planned on it being. I'm not going to put ads on it. I'm not going to do the usual signing out stuff. This is just something I wanted to say, and I feel like I have much better platform to say this on YouTube than I do on Twitter. When I tried to bring up this point on Twitter, didn't really seem to get much attention. I don't know if that's because people just didn't want to see it, chose to ignore it, or are too afraid to speak up. But as someone that has been on the end of racist remarks, for instance, as a kid, I was often referred to as the derogatory term for someone that comes from Pakistan, even though my mum's from Brazil, and often got excluded from stuff as I've grown up and as I've looked for jobs as well and opportunities. Often I found out I didn't get the role because of the colour of my skin. So as someone that has been in situations similar to that, and to be honest, I do feel like I have a tough skin around this topic because I do a job where a lot of racist terms have been thrown at me while I'm just doing my general day job. I wanted to speak out on this because I just don't think saying no to racism is enough anymore. There needs to be a stand against racism, and this was the perfect opportunity in our community to make a proper stand, especially from the official game itself. If you want to leave your thoughts, comments are going to be open, and I am not one of those that isn't going to respond to the comments. If you have something to say, I'm happy to debate about it with you guys. I'm happy to talk it over with you guys, and if you have been affected, in the description down below will be some sites you can go to around this topic that could help you out if racism is something that is affecting your personal life. If you have got to the end of the video, thank you for listening, and hopefully we can all come out of this with some strong lessons learned and better ourselves.